Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Good to be back. I think it's going to be a very fruitful trading week this week. We'll get started here in just a second. Make sure we're all properly connected here. Yep. All right, perfect. I hope everyone had a great weekend. Again, we'll get started in just a minute. But we had a very active weekend of risk taking over in the Bitcoin world. Want to fill you guys in on that, and that trade that we talked about now for about 2 weeks is really working. This catching up of the Ether or Ethereum ETFs versus Bitcoin. So we'll talk about this here in just a minute. Again, just want to give this another few seconds so people can trickle in. And if you guys can hear me okay and you can see the screen, just quickly give us a yes or a smiley face or something in the chat box, and then we'll get started here. Thank you all for being here. Much appreciated. All right. Excellent. Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. It's good to be back here. I my volume is low. I don't know. That might be in your end, my friend. Should be okay. I don't think I have to change anything. It looks pretty loud here. Is the volume low for anyone else? Oh, that's Jerry. Hey, Jerry. Didn't see that was you. How was the volume for you guys? Volume is good or bad? Should be pretty normal. Sounds good. Okay. Yeah, volume is good then. All right. Let's get started again. Happy Monday morning, folks. Thanks for being here. I think we're going to have a very opportunity rich week. I early this morning got diagnosed with another lung infection, my second one in my life and the second one this year. Something must be going around, but thanks for those of you guys sending me emails over the weekend. I've taken the first pill of what's that stuff called? Antibiotics. So things will be improving from here. But appreciate you guys caring. That's very nice of you. But we have I think an important week ahead here, and as we start to kind of see the markets make up their mind about sort of the post-election trade and what that looks like going forward, I think there's going to be just a tremendous amount of opportunity. Let's first start off with where we kind of left this off last week, and that's with ultimately what now is turning into a very meaningful weekly breakout for Bitcoin. And we actually, on Friday morning last week, we sent out a trade alert to Inner Circle clients to buy some call options on Coinbase. Those this morning so far, I think that stock's up about 13-14% pre-market. So those clients that took that trade obviously should be doing very well this morning. So hopefully you are one of them. If you're not an Inner Circle member, please make sure you reach out to our team. You don't want to miss that. We're about to get very active here, I think, for quite some time, and obviously, next year. So what now, and why is it important? So what's important about essentially the weekly close last week for Bitcoin is that we now have a breakout. And this is very simple and sort of classically technical analysis stuff, but it comes with a setup that I think a lot of people want to embrace, particularly younger generations. They only know Bitcoin and some of these other things. And so we could see a move here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see this kind of fast track forward to 90,000. Maybe we even see 100,000 this side of the calendar year. I don't know. And honestly, it's too volatile for me to project. But I do know the setup looks very, very juicy. I think this is a really interesting setup. And on the weekly charts, whether it's you looking at Coinbase or the IBIT ETF or something else, this is an important breakout that we've now accomplished last week. And it, of course, comes in the back of an election, which, the narrative at least is that should lead to a more crypto-friendly environment. And that makes sense to me. So I typically don't trade crypto. I just own a bunch of Bitcoin. And then I typically hedge it with futures if I think Bitcoin's overbought or stalling. Right now, I'm just long and strong. We're long IBIT in multiple of our subscription products as well. Hopefully, you guys are following that. And again, Coinbase this morning up really nicely. So all of you guys that took that trade in Inner Circle yesterday should be doing well. Last Friday, excuse me. And then Coinbase, just to kind of give you that chart, which is obviously very closely related to Bitcoin. I mean, some of the crazy high targets based on the recent move are, somewhere in well into the 400s. I think that's a much sort of longer upside target. I would kind of just go with your sort of, 10 to 15% moves. Of course, again, this morning we're getting a 15% move or something like that. And then kind of reassess from there. So I think that's, one of the things I'm watching very closely. For the S&P 500 itself, and this is, I think, critical right now. We talked about this, I think, last Thursday in the Set the Market morning show. So hopefully you were there. And we talked about how we think 600 or 6,000 on the SPX is probably a next logical upside target. And that is where I think we more or less got to on Friday. This morning, as of right now, futures are still up a little bit. But it appears to me that things are going to start slowing down here. And a lot of the initial move from last week, we also went long the NASDAQ 100 on Thursday morning with a trade alert. I think a lot of that stuff's going to start slowing down. We could see, a little back and forth, 2-3% down, and then back up towards the end of the year. I think that's entirely possible, and that might actually be healthy. But I think once we see the S&P get towards 6,200, at least as of today, I would imagine it's going to get more difficult for that sort of acceleration to continue. What's actually fascinating is that over the past number of weeks, the past, I think, 2 months now almost, we're seeing a steady outflow of technology stocks, like money being reallocated into other parts of the market. That's a much larger story. I've been talking about it here through the lens of inflation and what that means as well, because if we're in a higher for longer inflation environment, hard assets should do well. Hard assets and stocks that throw off cash flow, that have real things in the ground, that have real assets. And so long duration assets such as a tech stock that promises, some wonderful thing 10 years down the road are not going to do as well in those environments. What would fit into this, however, though, would be Bitcoin. And I think Bitcoin is trading very much in line with the inflation trade. Let's bring up the proper chart, and we could see plenty higher moves from here. Now, do keep in mind that this stuff is volatile, right? So, that's why I try to really pick my spots when I trade this stuff, but I want to be exposed directionally. So I think a lot of people who are hyperactively trading this stuff or ultimately end up missing out on the big gains from the larger thesis. So that's the other way sort of looking at this. There's a lot of trading opportunities, but we don't want to miss the big trend. That would be the worst thing we could possibly do. So hopefully you are positioned for this, or at least feel comfortable, with what it's doing, and maybe you can make some money as well. I know if you're an Inner Circle member and you took that Coinbase trade on Friday, you are definitely making money this morning. And we'll be sending out a trade alert to Inner Circle members on that here later on today as well for an update. In the very near term, what we are seeing, and we use our Vertical X Pro indicator for this, and I posted this in the Vertical X Pro chat room this morning. This is a real-time chart, a 5-minute chart of the S&P 500 E-mini futures. And you can see they got very overbought. There's that blue down arrow around whatever that was, like 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock Eastern this morning. And we've come off quite a bit now. And I do think this actually could stick for a while. And it was a good initial overbought sign. So hopefully some of you guys were able to take profit of that as well. The other thing I want to talk about quickly is gold. And obviously gold had a really big move this year, and I'm going to quickly just bring this up again in terms of the performance so we don't lose sight of this. So if you look at how gold has performed over the past 12 months, let's go 12 months. I mean, gold is basically up more or less as much as the S&P. It depends on which day you take. So, if you move this, to a couple of days further, you see gold's actually outperformed, but whatever. So let's call it in line, which is very, very interesting because particularly the recent dollar strengthening and gold's still very strong. And the S&P had a huge year. I mean, year over year, right? From, let's say today, 1 year ago to now, the S&P is up, 38% or something. That's a huge year for the equity market. I'm not quite sure people can comprehend how big a year that is. They will at some point when we look back and see that this was maybe a bit much. However, gold was able to top that. So that tells us there's a really interesting dynamic opportunity here, meaning I think, and I was telling this to my colleague JB this morning, I really think we're entering, and this is kind of the point, I think we're entering an unbelievably great period now for trading. I typically find it rather boring to trade when markets just bubble higher, because quite frankly, I can be long the S&P and probably beat most other things, or if you're in a bit smarter way. But when you start getting to an environment which is more dynamic, which I think is now happening, and it's probably going to be with us for quite some time, like well into next year's, I don't know, maybe all of next year, that becomes a very different dynamic for the markets. And if you really want to trade, and I'm not talking about chasing a chart breakout on a tech stock. That's not really a trade. That's a trend follow. But really actually be a trader. I think we're getting really close to an environment now that could be unbelievably fruitful for that. And so I'm actually going to start doing a whole lot more, particularly with options and futures. But you have to pick your right spot. The environment has to be proper for that. And I think we're entering this environment now, and to be continued. Last thing I want to quickly mention is this week's podcast. It was just uploaded a couple of hours ago onto YouTube. So if you are a subscriber of on our YouTube channel, which please do subscribe and give the thumbs up, watch this podcast. This gentleman is Rob Swan. They run Swap Global Investments. They run an ETF strategy, an S&P 500 strategy, where they are long the S&P, they buy protection, so they have a hedge, and they generate income, and they have unbelievably great recovery periods. It's such a great story, such a smart guy. In fact, after talking to him, I really thought about it and had a couple of calls over the weekend with some people. I'm like, this might just be worth an ETF that I just want to buy and kind of, in replacement of some other things that I own because of the hedge it's got built in. So watch the interview, listen to it. If you have any questions, please revert back. But I can highly, highly recommend you watch the interview. The guy's a very, very smart man, and they've built a very successful business with it as well, and a hell of a track record, by the way, I should mention. So watch that. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. But again, this is our Set the Market morning show here, 10 to 15 minutes. If you have any questions, let us know, and do give us a thumbs up, please, and subscribe to the channel so that you get all the updates in real time, and of course, so we can continue to keep doing this morning show. Any questions? I'm happy to stick around another minute. Otherwise, we will reconvene here tomorrow or on Tuesday. Again, we purposely do this show Monday through Thursday so that we keep it snappy and short, and really make sure everyone's focused on sort of 10 to 15 minutes of the most important stuff that we need to focus on. Have a great week. Good luck out there. And if you are an Inner Circle member, well done on the Coinbase trade. If you took it, we'll send out a trade alert update on that later on today. And we'll see you guys back here Tuesday morning on Tuesday. It's just in the chat, like Jerry. It's just like if you go to the YouTube channel, I can quickly put it in there. Where is it here? Here we go. Where's this channel? Here. Yeah, I put it in there now. All right, folks. Hope it was helpful. Have a great week.